Thomas Hayes was an elderly man living in a rundown cabin at the edge of town, a figure most people barely noticed. But when he passed away, his quiet life revealed a legacy that left everyone speechless. Hidden among the dusty furniture were letters detailing decades of anonymous acts of kindness, paying off mortgages, funding local charities, and supporting struggling families. His generosity had touched countless lives, yet no one had ever known. As the town unraveled the story of the man they had ignored, they discovered a heart full of compassion and a message of hope. Thomas's life taught them that true kindness doesn't seek recognition, it simply changes lives. What he left behind wasn't just a legacy, but a lesson for all. The rundown cabin at the edge of town had always been a source of quiet curiosity. The weathered wood, sagging roof, and overgrown yard suggested years of neglect. The man who lived inside, Mr. Thomas Hayes, was a recluse. Most of the townsfolk barely noticed him, save for the occasional sighting at the local market where he bought the bare essentials. He walked slowly, his hunched figure and worn-out clothes blending into the background. Few knew his name, and fewer still had spoken to him. Children whispered rumors that the old man in the cabin was a miser or perhaps a former criminal hiding from his past. Adults didn't bother to correct them, as they had little reason to think otherwise. Thomas kept to himself, and in turn, the town left him alone. It wasn't until the day he passed away that anyone began to pay attention. News of Thomas's death spread quickly. He had died peacefully in his sleep, discovered by a delivery driver who noticed the mail piling up. At first, the town felt a fleeting pang of sadness, but it was soon replaced by curiosity. What secrets did that dilapidated cabin hold? A group of neighbors and officials tasked with handling his affairs ventured into the cabin. What they found left them speechless. Inside the cabin, the air was thick with dust, and the furniture was sparse and worn. But tucked away in one corner was a wooden chest. When they opened it, they found neatly stacked envelopes, each addressed to local charities, families in need, and even strangers who had no idea their lives had been touched by the old man. Alongside the letters were receipts for donations, thousands of dollars given quietly over decades. Thomas Hayes, the man they had all dismissed as a recluse, had spent his life giving away what little he had. The letters revealed a story no one could have imagined. Thomas had once been a successful businessman, but tragedy struck when his wife and young daughter were killed in a car accident nearly 40 years ago. Devastated, he sold his home and moved to the cabin, retreating from the world. But instead of letting grief consume him, Thomas found solace in helping others. One letter was addressed to a young single mother named Anna, who lived down the street. She had struggled for years to make ends meet, often wondering how she'd managed to keep her home. The letter revealed that Thomas had anonymously paid her overdue mortgage bills more than once, ensuring she and her son wouldn't be evicted. Another letter was meant for the local library. For years, Thomas had been donating funds to expand their children's section, enabling the purchase of books and educational programs that benefited countless kids in the community. There were letters to the local animal shelter, thanking them for their work, and enclosing checks that had kept the shelter afloat during hard times. As the townsfolk read through the letters, they were overcome with emotion. The man they had ignored, misunderstood, or judged had quietly been the town's guardian angel. Among the papers, they found one final letter addressed to the community itself. It read, "To my neighbors, if you are reading this, it means my time has come. I hope that in my absence, you'll remember me not for the man I appeared to be, but for the small ways I tried to help. I chose a quiet life because it gave me peace, but I never stopped caring for the world around me. Kindness doesn't need recognition to matter. It only needs a willing heart." If my story inspires anything, let it be a reminder that even the smallest acts of generosity can ripple outward and touch lives in ways we'll never fully see. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this community, even from the sidelines. With gratitude, Thomas Hayes. The letter left everyone in tears. The town rallied together to honor Thomas's memory. They organized a memorial service, inviting everyone whose lives he had touched, many of whom were only now discovering his role in their stories. At the service, Anna stood up to speak. "I used to wonder how I managed to keep going when everything seemed impossible," she said, her voice trembling. "Now I know it was because of Mr. Hayes. He saved my family without ever asking for thanks. I wish I could have told him what it meant to me." The librarian shared how Thomas's contributions had created a sanctuary for children. "He gave them a world of stories and dreams," she said, "and he did it all without ever stepping into the library himself." One by one, people shared their stories, each one painting a fuller picture of the man they had overlooked. The boy who had received a scholarship from an anonymous donor, the elderly woman whose medical bills had been mysteriously paid, the small bakery that had stayed open thanks to a generous, anonymous patron, all traced back to Thomas. The most poignant moment came when a young girl, no older than 8, approached the podium, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers. "Mr. Hayes used to leave birdseed on our porch," she said. "He told me it was so the birds would always sing for us. I didn't know he was so kind to everyone, not just the birds." The town decided to preserve Thomas's cabin as a reminder of his legacy. They turned it into a community center, a place where people could come together to share kindness and support one another, just as Thomas had quietly supported them for so many years. In the end, Thomas Hayes's story wasn't just about the remarkable acts of generosity he had performed. It was a profound reminder of the hidden potential within every person to make a lasting impact. Though he lived a quiet, unassuming life, his actions spoke volumes, showing that true kindness requires neither wealth nor recognition, only a willing heart. His legacy wasn't in grand gestures, but in the countless lives he quietly uplifted through compassion and selflessness. His final act of kindness, leaving behind not just his savings, but a legacy of love and hope, became a guiding light for the community, illuminating the profound impact of quiet generosity. What Thomas Hayes achieved was more than just financial support. He instilled a sense of unity, compassion, and shared purpose among those who had once overlooked him. His story inspired neighbors to re-evaluate their own lives, sparking a movement of kindness that extended far beyond their small town. The ripples of his actions continued to grow, reminding everyone that even the simplest, selfless gestures could spark extraordinary change, transforming not only individual lives, but the spirit of an entire community. Through his legacy, Thomas left the world undeniably brighter.